Welcome to the Workpay Podcast. Shut up.
It's great to finally do this.
We are finally doing this. This is the inaugural first episode of this podcast. I'm very excited to be here. First of all, my name is Rio. I'm a partner at Workpay Ventures, who has been an investor for Workpay almost since the inception. And I'm very, very honored and excited to be here as a co-host.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to run it through. Maybe we will start with the introductions. Paul, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Rio, for agreeing to come and do this with us. My name is Paul Kimani. I'm the CEO, co-founder at Workpay. And exciting to finally do this.
Yeah, thanks, Rio. Thank you, Paul, for also agreeing to be here. So my name is Jackson Kimbigu Kungu. I'm the CFO at Workpay. Also serve as the CEO of the company, taking care of the company operations and finance departments.
Very cool. And then maybe we will do a quick ice break before we get into the interesting topics of Workpay. There's a question. Imagine we had a time machine and we are taking a trip back to the earliest days of Workpay. Where are we landing and what's happening in that moment?
Probably a landing somewhere in Nairobi, where we are a bunch of maybe 5 people trying to figure out a couple of things for Workpay. Think of 5 people who are trying to be everything or to do everything at the same time, trying to figure out product market fit, trying to figure out the product, trying to figure out the customers we are trying to sell to. So I think that's what is the very, very early memories of what we are doing at work. We're like being everything at the same time and wearing so many hats. But it was really exciting days.
Where was your office back then, by the way?
Interesting. So, so our office was somewhere along Thika Road in Nairobi. For those who know that place, we started initially actually the company working from home. Before even working from home was a thing.
So your house was out?
Yeah.
Jackson, which is the moment that you want to land?
So the plane will land on a 10-story building. Then it goes down to a 2-bedroom apartment. Seated in the kitchen. That 2-bedroom apartment, and the kitchen is apparently the support office. So I just seated there, taking a customer call.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we are discussing, or I'm shouting to Paul about how we should think about the product. At the same time, I'm shouting, talking to David, telling him that this customer is saying something that is not working on the product. So juggling a lot of things at the same time, one person, and maybe the next 5 minutes I'm working to give Paul the form to take his sheet and read the thing.
So we already learned the fun story of the office's early days, but I think what I'd be curious to learn about is the stories behind the stories, or maybe stories behind the time before the time I met. Though I was one of the earliest investors, and I've seen almost all the journey all through, but I know you two had worked together even before that. So I want to know, like maybe starting with backgrounds of you guys and then how you guys met together.
We met with Jack at the university. So interestingly, both of us are electrical engineers. It's interesting, we are electrical engineers and now we are dealing with HR and payroll.
Wiring HL system.
Yeah.
Make it efficient.
Yeah. So we met at university. This is actually third company that we are trying to do together with Jack. But fun fact, the first 2 companies, Jack was my employee. So this is the third company that we are doing together as co-founders. In our 4th year, I built my first company, which was a tech company that we are building usually call it on LinkedIn for politicians. So
Sounds dangerous.
yeah, it was dangerous, trust me. So what we did then was just build an online portal. We would profile all the people who are vying for various political offices in Kenya. And then the idea then was that people will be able to go to that portal, see what these people have done before or what they want to do, and then probably, I was so innocent, so stupid that I thought that people would use that to vote for the right people in office, because I believed, and I still believe to date, that most of our problems in the continent probably span from the leadership. So I thought that they could do something then. And then Jack, as my classmate, he saw what I was doing, and I was like, come work with me. And he was an engineer, but he was doing our social media.
Social media manager.
so that was he was doing. And I forgot the business involved a lot. The reason I'm giving this story about it was called Kenya Aspirants is because it really shaped the way we think about businesses today, because I did that for 1 year. One lesson, like, you need to know who is your customer
Yeah.
from the word go. Second thing, you have to really understand how does scale look for you. Fast forward, I started, I always learned to code. I learned to code when I was in campus, and I was now building small things to be able to survive. And again, my guy came again as a customer, and he wanted me to build something for him. And then was like, what he wanted me to build, and I was, it sounded interesting. And then, of course, because we were friends in school, and he knew I was always wanted to build things, so we kept in touch. We kept on talking all along. All this time, I'm working from my house, so there's no office and those kind of things. And before I realized, then the business started growing. I started having more customers. I hired one engineer. The second engineer that I hired is actually our CTO today, David Kariuki. So he was actually the second engineer I hired just straight from college. He was also, interestingly, an electrical engineer, and he was really smart, and he's still a very smart guy, and that's why I ended up working with him. So we built their.
Actually, let me pause you a bit,
Yeah.
because you've thrown so many interesting stories. I want to hear from him.
Yes.
Because you listen to this story, like it's interesting that you jumped on an opportunity that's given by some random college student, like classmate, and then you actually ended up not being paid, but still you kept coming back. So what made you move to work with him, like actually multiple times?
I think right when we are going to fourth year, and he approached me and he asked me whether can you come and help me try to popularize whatever he was building. That's a nice way of saying become a social media manager.
Social media
Yeah,
manager.
so I joined him. I believe in what he was building. It was clear, like in campus, I think you're looking just for money, right? I think that why he had that crazy idea of being a billionaire from politicians, big risk. I could clearly
Big risk.
see the vision for that 1 year.
Yeah.
Right? So I joined him. Fortunately, he was the CEO, so he had more responsibilities. I was just handling the social media and trying to popularize the website. I did not go out of school, so actually I did not post my education.
Mhm.
So I finished, and of course I was not paid for the few months I was there. I think it was like 6 months, but again, the promise at the end. I think he promised us that if it becomes so successful, he'll give us something. I think that's where he got the idea of ESOP.
I had actually learned about ESOP and was working in the bank. So at Equity Bank, they had given us an idea of, like, you can buy part of the shares in the company. I had no
Company share
idea
compensation.
how it would work at a startup level.
Yeah.
But I knew, like, you can actually pay people by giving them part of the company, but I had no idea how that would work.
Yeah, he promised us that, and we bought into that, so we were not like chasing for the money. So long story short, I graduated, went to Meru. It's a country, it's a county, one of the counties in Kenya. Did electrical installations. We call it last mile connectivity. Just going to connect electricity to homes. Did that for 1 year. Climbed the electrical poles several times.
Nice.
But once you do something and you know that's not your calling,
Yeah.
you get tired along the way.
Yeah, maybe not.
And
Yeah.
somehow I found myself in Nairobi, staying at my cousin's, and I was like, what do I do? I think the same dilemma he was at. And I found myself talking to people, telling them I know this guy that can build your company website. And then that time I've not even approached him. And then so I approached him, one thing led to another, and again, he convinced me to join him, build the company that he had started. It's called Resort. And yeah,
Interesting. And then I see, yeah, from your side of the story, I see that you are entrepreneur to the bone, like at heart, and your risk tolerance and or appetite have always been very high.
Yeah.
Where it's coming, and then I guess the first one, the LinkedIn for politicians, maybe you bootstrapped it, maybe.
Yes, good question. Yes, I think the reason why I try to do business or I'm into entrepreneurship, I think it comes from my belief that probably that's one single thing that you could use or one single tool that you could use to really have a big impact, not only on yourself but in your community as a nation. So if we have so many entrepreneurs in the country, in the continent, you're going to have a very, very big impact. You're going to create employment. You're going to have like really positive impact across the continent. I think that's why I believe that's one thing that I want to do, and I think I want as many people as possible doing entrepreneurship, and that drives me. So, to your question, in terms of why I do it, that's why like I think it's the right thing to do, and there are more opportunities for you to be able to do that. Yeah.
Interesting. And now maybe tell me more about the AfriSoft, the software business, like predecessor of Workpay, how it came about. You touched on it a bit, but yeah, how it came about, and then how it transitioned into Workpay. Actually, Total Plus now.
So AfriSoft was like it was a consulting business.
Okay.
So it's not like a startup or it's not like a company that we had built. It was a consulting business. The thing about consulting business is that you don't need external funding. You only need your skills and you need customers. So that's where we started. And even probably going back to the question of whether the LinkedIn for politicians, we had funding. Actually convinced somebody to give me $1 million Kenyan shillings, which is like equivalent to, by then was almost $10,000 or thereabout. Somebody gave me that, and that was actually my first fundraising. So he actually gave me that. I don't remember what percentage I gave them in the business. That's the first
equity.
money.
Yeah,
That's the
okay,
first
of
money.
course.
Yeah, but now when we started the AfriSoft, which was just basically a consulting business, it was like very, very organic in the way we started it. Like this is what I started in my room. By then had already married. My wife had lost her job as well, so we found ourselves in our house. So she was like officially the first accountant, salesperson, marketing person, and the way we were doing it, like I would do the work, so the actual coding and doing everything, but then for her she would go look for work. And the thing is that organically grew. You found that we have probably one customer, then we have 10 customers, and that's why we started now hiring other engineers. We started with two. Jack, by the time we were hiring the two, Jack had come on board. We had already started having a bit of volume, and the business was growing nice. consulting is good if you just want to be comfortable.
Yeah,
You can make some good money, no stress.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, like, I've always believed in building a very, very scalable business, and if you do consulting, it's so hard for you to be able to scale that business. So when we are doing this business, so the question was always, what can we build to be able to have a bigger impact in what we are doing? What can we build? I've always been a big fan of the Googles and the Facebooks of this world, reading their stories, and I find like all this, there's this thing that is called startup, like where just guys start and then this thing blows up and becomes quite a big thing. So I've always looked into those kind of things, and so when we are doing the consulting, it was feeding us. It was we were okay. We were not suffering, but then we always kept asking the question, what's the next big thing that you want to build? So what? And the next big thing came from the customer that we were serving. So we found ourselves working in a very, very interesting segment where we were serving mostly small and medium-sized companies. And what happened is when you serve that group of customers, you by extension become their IT department. So what happened is that if they need something, you are the first person they call. They need something to figure out how for them to manage their leads. So they're like, what are you guys using for CRM? They need something to, maybe the accounting solution is giving them issues, like they call you and ask you, how are you guys handling this? Or even they go a step further, can you help us figure out this? And that became a very, very constant theme from the customers that we are building for. And found that we were building or advising them on things to manage their resources. So we are building things that would help them manage their people. We are building things that would help them manage their finances, their customers, their employees. It's just resource management. And then we are like, oh, we have an idea. We are going to build a tool that brings all these resources together and helps them to manage all these resources. And that's
Building ELP.
build an ERP. And that's exactly the thought process that we had.
You set up a different company, the Total Plus as a different company from AfriSoft, or you rename it?
So we started first building it as an AfriSoft product.
Yeah.
So it was for
AfriSoft
for
ELP.
the consulting, because we had other products, even SMS management platforms and everything. Like we had all the things that you may think about. So, but then when we realized that we started getting a bit of traction, then we registered it as a separate
entity.
Yeah, so I think we could not, we had got a good set of SMEs, but we're actually using Toza Plus. I think the main modules I remember were accounting, was there, CRM.
Wow.
But we still had clients on the other side. Yeah, so we still had to get a way of supporting them because we could not really let them go. Unfortunately, I was in operations, and operations meant that you're the one supporting these clients, and then we all now had to switch to the product side completely, pause taking any new jobs on the consulting side, and try to continue shedding the clients off.
Yeah.
The Plus, as I've said, had three main modules. There was the CRM, there was accounting, and then there was payroll, right? And I remember one of the most used products was accounting.
Oh,
Like
not even payroll.
70% of the clients that had onboarded.
Actually, I checked the other day. We had 80% of our users using accounting.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how could you compete with other software like Sage and QuickBooks, Well, back then they were not that popular.
They were still there. Kenya, which was our starting market, is a QuickBook heavy market.
Yeah.
Right. So if you would go to any company, most probably they have had they are using QuickBooks.
Yeah.
I think then it was QuickBooks desktop, right?
Yeah.
So our promise then is that we will give you an online solution to manage your accounting. But of course, people are still skeptical. By then, I think we late 2018, we had finished, we had done with all the plans on the Afrisort side. But then we were here asking ourselves what's the next now for this new product.
Yep.
And of course, it's the only product that we have, right? So it means it needs to fully start supporting the business completely. And it came to a point where we felt that the ERP is too big for the team that we are having.
Yeah.
And we started asking questions that you are asking in this market. We want to build, yes, we want to build a big product, but the resources that we have can't allow us to do that.
Yep.
And I think that decision was made by one of our customers again. And they were
What kind of company was it?
It was an SME.
SME.
Microfinance.
Microfinance. Yeah.
Actually, in Nakuru. So for them, they were clear they needed a payroll solution.
Okay.
But then when we sold them the payroll solution, or we had built, remember we had built with our own way of thinking. We had not talked to customers. I think GWZ was the first real customer that gave us real feedback on what we need to build, and gave us time to build it.
Yeah.
Sort of iterate the payroll product. And then we asked ourselves, we have these three main products. We have payroll, we have accounting, and then we have CRM. CRM was, I think, shitty. I would say that it was not so nice. And then accounting, we asked ourselves the question that you have just asked me: how do we go against QuickBooks, and how do we go against the SAP, the Zohos of this world that I think were coming to this market, and we could not compete because we were already, like QuickBooks was already serving the target market that we wanted to serve for. So eventually, I think we settled on payroll because ask anyone about payroll in 2019, and there was no solution there. Just maybe small solutions built by maybe an Afrisort somewhere, but there was no like a well-known payroll solution. So eventually, again, decided let's concentrate on the HR product. So again, the same process that we did from Afrisort, we had to let go of the many customers that we have on the accounting side, and concentrate on just selling payroll. Remember, it's the biggest product. It's the biggest product in terms of customer base. But we found a way of transitioning them to, what was it called?
Yeah, Wave Up. So it was a Canadian payroll accounting software provider, which was bought by a company in the US a couple of years back. And so what they had done is that they had made their payroll. They were charging their payroll, I think, in the US and Canada, but then globally they would provide the accounting tool for free. So I remember, interestingly, when we are building our accounting, we are using Wave Apps internally as our accounting tool. So what we did is that when we are transitioning these accounting customers to go and use, like we literally sat down and like we were looking at home for them. Like we were not just going to tell them tomorrow you're not going to be shutting down this product. It's so critical. Then what we remember, most of these because we had really transitioned them from our consulting business. So they were our friends. They were people that really believed in us, trusted what we were building. So we actually migrated them to Wave Apps. And I remember one of the customers asked us, like, why did you have to take us through all that pain? Yet you had like a really, really good product that you could give us. Yeah, they were actually calling us to support them on the Wave Apps product. And we had to we don't own the product. We're just providing you for a way out for you to be able to do that. And that really made them even trust us more. Like we did not just like drop them down. We just held their hands to be able to transition. So we have had two transitions, as Jack is saying, and it has been very, very difficult. So the first transition from moving from a consulting to building a software company, that was even more riskier. Remember, we are not only dropping customers, we're actually dropping revenues. And we're actually dropping what has fed us for so many years. And we took that risk because we were comfortable, we were okay, but we could not see any way that we were going to win there. And that was the same transition. So when we built the ERP, we're actually calling it Business Operating System, in ERP, all those very fancy names, there was no way that we could see ourselves winning. There was no way we could see ourselves like building a very, very big business, either in the continent or globally. And we had to really retrospect and ask ourselves, what are some of the things that we need to do for us to be able to build? So that experience working in the bank, working in a very technical field, and seeing the difference in how what the different systems can make, I think it was a very, very easy transition for me when we sat on the table and like, what are we going to build? And it was like, I think there's a very, very big opportunity for us to build around the HR and payroll space. That's how we ended up shutting down the ERP and now again starting the journey to build Workpay.
Yeah, very interesting story of maybe starting with everything, like the story of narrowing down of your true north.
Yes.
Yeah, starting with everything, ELP and payroll.
Yes.
Yeah. So and then also maybe story of carrying over goodwill from people who have worked with Workpay, like including you, but you too, but also customers. You have got a lot of goodwill. If you had ditched any of them in any manner at the point of AfriSoft or even before, or even at the Total Plus, I think you wouldn't have landed on where you are, because that must have shaped the product and the way Workpay as an organization works too. So yeah, very impressive story. Thank you for watching the first part of the first Workpay podcast. We found so many interesting stories behind the inception of Workpay, but there's more to learn about. So let's stay tuned for the next part.